Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. These are the post-fight reviews for the Alen Babic vs Damian Chambers fight, as well as Solomon Dacres vs Alvaro Terrero. So first we'll start with Alen Babic, who rolls on, advances to 7-0 following his fight with Chambers, and again another Alen Babic special. Just coming forward, letting his hands go, ultimately got the stoppage in the third round. So this was a 6-rounder versus Damian Chambers, who has been fighting at cruiserweight, and Chambers actually came in under the heavyweight limit for this fight. Babic was 209 pounds on the scale. But in terms of the action proper, so very destructive finish to this, but it started off with all action from Babic as per usual. As we expected, he would come out letting his hands go, and early on he had Chambers in trouble. It seemed, you know, those first initial blows that were landing, Chambers, you could tell he was feeling it, and it wasn't long until he was in trouble, caught with a big left hook, and he would have gone down if it hadn't have been for the ropes that he you know, sort of grabbed as he was backing up. And the referee, obviously, as a result of that, gave him a count because he would have gone down without that. He manages to beat that count, obviously, because he was still on his feet. And actually, there were some shots he was starting to land in return, but it was obviously still a big Babic round. And Babic hurt him right near the end of round one there. And Babic looked at the referee as to basically say, are you going to jump in and do something here, stop it? Or, you know, that sort of seemed to be the impression you were getting. But the referee didn't do anything. And that little respite probably, you know, gave Chambers just enough time to recover and obviously get out of that round because it was right near the bell. But round two, after Babic, his big round one, it did sort of seem like he was a little bit tired, a little bit gassed. The action was just a little bit less sort of frenetic, and it did seem like it was a bit of a recovery round, and Chambers actually had some good success. He was catching up with Babic, landing some good jabs, some good counter shots, the left hook, the right hand, some uppercuts. He was actually holding his own in that round, although probably not winning it because Babic still doing enough to outwork Damian Chambers. Round three, this is where it ended, and he absolutely wrecked Damian Chambers with a left hook. So this was at the end of a flurry of punches all over Chambers like white on rice, and just wrecked him with a left hook, which, you know, you can see here. He was held up by the ropes. The referee waves it off immediately. So I'd describe it again as another Alen Babic special because he came in, did his thing, got the win, and he moves on. And I guess the question now, what's he going to do? In the post-fight, he sort of spoke about when he was asked that his shoulder, because he had an injured shoulder, he's been rehabbing since he injured it in his last fight. Last fight was back end of 2020, but he said it felt good, and even then, you know, if something happened to the fight in terms of the way it felt, he didn't care how it felt. He was still going to fight the way that he wanted to fight. But he did say that he was prepared to fight against guys in 3 different divisions. Obviously, we know the WBC has its bridgerweight division, which, you know, Babic squarely, you know, can fit into right now. Also, cruiserweight, he could probably make that. And heavyweight, he has been fighting at heavyweight, effectively being over 200 pounds. But, you know, he's a pretty small heavyweight in the context of the division. You know, he's been weighing in just over 200 pounds, so he could probably make cruiser if he wanted to. But he did sort of say that it's been a real struggle to get opponents because people just don't want to jump in with him because of what he's been doing and the sort of, you know, things he's been starting to achieve in the heavyweight division. Although, I mean, I would say again, and I think a lot of people realize this, Babic, when he steps up to any real level in the heavyweight division, you're going to have guys weathering his storm, and if he gasses out, he becomes very vulnerable. As it is, when he is just like absolutely letting those hands go, he's open to being caught, and Chambers did catch him a number of times, and you could tell that, you know, some of those shots had a bit of an effect, and Chambers was getting Babic's respect to some degree, but obviously bigger men, bigger punches, more skilled fighters at the higher weight are going to actually have success against Babic. It is one of these things that feels like it's going to come unstuck at some point. But hey, that doesn't matter. We're not expecting all these guys to be, at the top end of the division. And I think Babic, with what he's doing, this sort of gimmick that he's promoting, this all action, I'm going to wreck you in under 3 rounds or less, it's fun to watch. I enjoy it. And this is why a lot of people are warming to Babic, because he's got a good personality. He can chat a bit of crap as well, and he talks a big game. But he has been following up and delivering honest words against his opponents in the ring. So I like watching Alen Babic because it's fun, it's different. We know that some of these guys he's facing are not the best opponents in the world, but he is still quite young in his pro career, as it were. He might be 30 years old, but he's only got those 7 fights on the ledger. So you can't expect to be facing top 10 or top 20 guys at this point. But if he was, I think he might get found out. But let's just ride this Alen Babic train for as long as it goes, because it's going to be a fun ride. So we'll see what happens next with Babic, but I always look forward to seeing him in the ring. Even though we know he's not the best or the most skilled, he does deliver entertainment, all action, and it's hard not to sort of watch those fights intently and not have a smile on your face, because he does fight that all action sort of, and a guy who says his idol is Joe Frazier. I mean, that's a guy you've got to respect as well. Anyway, moving on to the other fight. So Solomon Dakis, who was 1-0 coming into this fight versus Alvaro Terrero. He got to show a little bit more of himself from that first pro fight, a few weeks back. That was against a Bulgarian, Mladen Marnev, who tucked up, came to survive, didn't really open up too much. As a result, Solomon Dakis wasn't able to fully show his wares, but we got more of an indication about what he can do, his style. And for a big guy, he does actually box quite fluidly, and we saw with Alvaro Terrero, he came to fight, letting his hands go. He caught up with Solomon Dakis a few times, looping overhand rights and just swinging wildly at times as well. But he was, a fun fighter to watch, but it gave Dakis just opportunities, openings to exploit. So he was looking pretty good on the counter. And because he was getting a lot of shots thrown his way, we were able to sort of see a bit more of his defensive prowess. He was able to, roll with shots, slip them. He was getting those hands up in good position. And it's sort of stuff we weren't able to see in that first fight. So there's a lot of ingredients there to like about Solomon Dakis and the way that he fights. Maybe he's not the biggest sort of concussive puncher, but he does, when he sits down on those shots, he was, starting to hurt Alvaro Terrero. And there was a lot of good sort of body work there as well, jabbing to the body, good right hands, good counters as well. All in all, he showed a good diverse range of his arsenal in stopping Alvaro Terrero inside 4 rounds. This was due for 6 rounds, didn't go the distance. There was a couple of big right hands and a left hook that landed, and the ref sort of jumped in very quickly, and I sort of thought, it looks a little bit, soon, but Terrero, he didn't complain, and it was all over in 4 rounds, and Solomon Dakis gets a first stoppage in a second fight of his pro career. So, yeah, a good run out for Dakis. The rounds will be invaluable. He had showed a good repertoire. Those rounds will be valuable because he was against a guy who was fighting. He was able to sort of open him up, break him down over those rounds. And he looked loose and fluid in there. He looked very relaxed. And that's always good to see. He wasn't too stiff. But, advances to 2-0, Babic to 7-0. What did you make of it all? Drop a comment loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.